Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Britton's Hangout Hour, episode 134. Today, I am with E.L. Lyons. Did I get that right?
Yes, correct.
Very good.
Super easy name.
You never know. There's some names that you're like, oh, I think I got this, and they're like, it's Lyons. And you're like, what? But
I do think that your paper quest on my last interview spelled my name Lines, like Lines, and that was pretty funny. I didn't correct them.
fair enough. But how are you doing this fine afternoon?
Fantastic. I've been working on my third book. It's a little bit hot. I know I've complained about that on Twitter a few times, but yeah. Other than that, it's great. How are you?
Been good. Woke up earlier this morning to visit with some friends of mine. Um, Went back home, took a nap, got up, got some food, and now I'm back here. So here we are.
Oh, nice. That's a very busy morning. I hardly ever visit anybody. If I do, I have to like sleep the rest of the day because I'm socially traumatized.
Yeah, that's right. I remember you were like, I'm like, you want to do next Friday, and you're like, or I want to do Friday, and you're like, yeah. I'm like, I should note, by the way, do you mean tomorrow or next Friday? And you're like, next Friday, please. And I'm like, okay, good. I like having some more. I like having time before I do things. So glad we
Yeah,
got that wrapped up.
I need some time to socially prepare, even for like small things. Like I'll be selling things on Facebook Marketplace, and I just need at least like 24 to 48 hours to like, even if there's nothing going on at all, I just want to know what's going on before it's going on, or else it gives me anxiety,
Fair
especially
enough.
when it comes to seeing people.
That's true. That's true. But you're an indie author,
Mhm.
if I recall right. I actually first saw you on Mike Mullman's show, Bald and
Oh yeah,
Balding.
yeah, they're a lot of fun. I love being on that show.
So like for those who don't know, like what do you write about? What's like your thing?
I'm not sure if I have a thing. Currently, I only have one published book because it takes me like 3 years apparently just to edit. Um, I wrote a lot before that. I've been writing like my whole life, but sci-fi fantasy for sure, and usually darker and more on the epic side. I love world building. It's
Hmm.
my favorite thing to do. I just, go ham. So if you're looking for like a light fantasy or a beginner fantasy, for sure, not my book. That would be a bad choice. I've even had some reviews say this is not the book for me. Like if you're just starting out in epic fantasy, don't read this. Um, so yeah, I would advise that if you're just getting into fantasy or epic fantasy, it's not because it's very heavy on the world building, light on the exposition, but heavy on the world building. And I don't explain anything, so that's also not everyone's cup of tea.
So just
But
full Malazan, huh?
I have had people say that it's not as bad as Malazan, so I can say that not as bad as Malazan.
I haven't I haven't read Malazan yet. I'm actually hoping to read Gardens of the Moon at least this upcoming month, which is in
And
3 days.
it's
4 days.
on my TBR because I feel like it's one of those ones that everybody's got to read, like, because so many people recommend it. And the funny thing is, I had never even heard of it before I became an indie author. Like, I've read so much fantasy and sci fi, and I'd never heard of Malazan. But yeah, I'm hoping to get to it at some point. But my TBR is so long at this point, I have no idea when, because it's mostly indie books. Like, since I do the first chapter cullings, I just end up with like 200 indie books on my TBR, and it's hard to take a break for trad pub authors, except the ones that I already like really love. Like I'll always make time for Anthony Ryan books. Um, but I think, oh, and Nicholas Sansbury Smith. I'll always make time for him. I love those books. But yeah, so back to the question: dark epic fantasy, kind of, but also I will be writing sci-fi in the future.
Ooh.
Because I like to switch. Like before I published, my like usual method was to switch between sci-fi and fantasy. because if I don't, I'll take too much from the last fantasy world I used, or the last sci-fi world I used, and it kind of bleeds into the next story. So it's like a little palate cleanser to have a nice little sci-fi
You don't want to
right in
repeat
between the
yourself.
fantasy.
I can
Yeah.
respect that.
But yeah, so that's it.
I see. I'm just starting to dip my toes into the indie fantasy sphere. Can't speak today. um yeah, it's interesting that we've kind of seen this explosion of self-published literature, and it's not like vanity projects anymore.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure some of them still exist, but like that's not like a thing anymore so much. Like there's actually stories that people like care about and want to make good and all that.
Yeah, I actually didn't know about vanity presses before I published. I didn't know about a lot of things before I published. I didn't know self-pub was like a thing until like, I don't even know. It might have been 6 months before I published, and my writing mentor was like, so do you know whether you're going to self-publish or try to traditionally publish? And I was like, I don't know what either of those things mean. Like, I just thought you published. I had to learn a lot, and I definitely did not learn enough before I published. There are some things that I did wrong with my release, but it is crazy to see, even just since I published, I think in 2023 or 2022, I can't remember now, how much things have changed. You know, just the landscape is constantly changing with how things work, and you watch different small publishing companies crop up, and some of them are successful and some of them are not. And, you know, paying attention to what they do differently and how much interest there is in them based on what they're doing, and what things were popular before and aren't so popular now. It has been interesting, and it seems a lot more competitive with TradPub than it was even when I first joined. Like, it used to be, you know, like self-published. Like, I see much fewer comments about how self-published books are all bad and things like that now. I think most people have at least read a few good self-published books at this point, that they don't just make that assumption about a self-published book anymore.
Yeah, I've read some very good ones. Like I read my friend Philip Chase's Idan trilogy last year, which I thought
that's
were
on my TBR too.
really strong. Also read Phased this year, which is like a werewolf book. I love werewolves, so I'm like, I'm gonna read that, and I did, and it was really good. So
I have not read either of those yet, but I see Philip Chase's books around all the time, and just by watching his interviews and stuff, I feel like they would be my kind of book. I definitely feel like he's probably got a good story in there. So they're on my TBR eventually for after I finish all the culling books, the SPFBO and the SPFNO culling books. SPFBO and SPFNO.
yeah, I don't think I could do that because that just seems like a lot of books, and I have to feel. You know, I'm kind of a mood reader, I guess, if you want to say. Like,
yeah.
I'll kind of plan stuff out, but like I have to like feel like reading them, you know.
Yeah, I do cheat a little bit. Like, I'll make my SPFBO and SPFNO list, and sometimes I'll rearrange it at random just because it's kind of like rearranging your furniture. It makes you feel a little bit less stressed about it. So like recently I rearranged it based on like page order, because I realized that I had like, you know, 600-page books coming up, and that was going to be just like really stressful for me and make me feel like I wasn't finishing anything ever. So I kind of rearranged it so that it would be like shorter books followed by longer books. And sometimes I'll just cheat, and I always cheat with audiobooks because it's just easier for me to get those read. Like I just finished J.L. Odom's By Blood and by Salt, which was really, really good if you like low fantasy.
Oh, I've been wanting to check that out. I heard she won.
Fantasy.
Yeah, I'm trying to get her on my channel. It's just she's moving. She was telling me, and then I'm like, "Hey, you want to do this?" And it's like, "Yeah." And then I haven't contacted her. Maybe I'll do that after we're done here. But
I haven't talked to her really at all about the book because I finished it and I've been just so stressed with like real life stuff that I haven't even had time to post about it on Twitter. But I loved it because I love low fantasy, and it was kind of surprising when I finished the book. I thought this was kind of like a weird one to win this contest because there is so little fantasy in it.
Interesting.
It's alternate world fantasy, but there is very little magic. It's not. It's like I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but it's just it's low fantasy. Very probably one of the lowest fantasy books you can get, which I personally loved. But I've read some of the other reviews where people were kind of disappointed. But it's a small percentage of people, I think, because the story is so good. If you like, kind of more subtle books, I think there's a lot of people who really need that sort of action and violence throughout a whole dark fantasy. But if you're more into like the political things going on in a story and different factions and the psychology like behind these like morally great characters and things like that, then you'll love it for sure. But if you're just looking for like action, probably not.
I should know, by the way, I respect the people who can like do that and be like, I'm gonna read these SPFBO books to judge them, because I've been always kind of like nervous. Someone will be like, hey, let's give that Britton guy a shot with this SPFBO thing, and I'm like, oh no, please don't ask me.
Oh, just so you know, look, I'm not an official judge.
And look, I'm not. Look, I mean,
not official.
Look, I mean, look, I love me some free books, but like, come on, like I'm.
Yeah, I've seen judges get some abuse, for their, honest opinions, which I think is terrible. Sweating. Like anyone who gives, judges a hard time, you need to get a life. They're there volunteering their time, and it is a lot of work. I'm not an official judge, and I think my part is a lot of work, and I'm just a reader. Like I'm just reading the books because they were in the contest, and I do my culling, my own personal like judging of all the first chapters. But yeah, if you're a judge, it's hard, like, because then you've got a lot more people than your usual viewers, strangers watching these reviews of these books and reading your reviews of these books. And they're often, a little bit spicy and rude. And I've seen that too many times.
I thought you meant like the other type of spicy. I was like, well,
oh no, weird. Not that. Not that type of spicy. That would be even weirder. Don't be any kind of spicy with the SPFBO judges. That's like the best contest out there.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I should note, I probably should have said the teams of people who help the SPFBO judges with picking books. Not necessarily the SPFBO judges themselves.
Well, they're all judges. It's complicated how they do it because they let each team decide how to run it, and so they'll have like mini judges in some teams, but not in all teams. Like I know when I joined SPFBO with Starlight Joel, I had a single person judge. She did not have anybody working with her at all. She read all the books on her own, which I think is really cool. I don't remember her name now, Sylvandra or something, but. Anyway, but a lot of them do have the mini judges. I am not any part of any of the official SPFBO-ness, but the actual judges who were like at the top of that, I think they did run it like that for some of the teams, but for every team it was different. They were allowed to do whatever they wanted, which I think is really cool because it's less of an interruption to those judges, which is how they get so many volunteer judges versus other contests. If you've ever tried to get book reviewers involved in a long project, it's nearly impossible because like it interrupts their usual content and they'll lose their usual reviewers. So by letting the judges have so much freedom, it really helps them to like maintain those connections.
Yeah,
but it's a free contest for authors, and there's very few opportunities for authors that are actually just like free and like risk-free essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it happen the last couple years, and I mean, I'm still really new to this indie sphere. I mean, I've had a couple of indie authors on to hang out on here, like yourself. I'm sure there's others. I can't think of them at the moment. I had my friend Daniel Meyer
Uh,
on here the other day. That was pretty. That was pretty
I
fun.
feel like I saw an interview with JC and Byrne on
Oh
your.
yeah, I've done a couple. I've done a couple with him. He's a good friend of mine.
He's very funny. I like JC and Byrne. I don't know what his actual name is.
It's Joe.
Oh, okay, Joe.
Yeah, I'm like, he's like, like so many people are called Joe. JCM, I can deal with. I'm like, you know what? Okay.
Yeah. It's there is a lot of Joes out there. There's a few Eds, lots of Gregs. Every time I end up talking about an author with like their first name, I'm confusing other people and I'm confused and none of us know who we're talking about because there's so many people with like repeat names. I prefer the last names because at least most of those are kind of different.
I oh, what was I gonna say? Well, what's nice about me is I have a pretty unique name, Britton. So
Yes, I don't know any Britons.
whenever I put something out, I can just go Britton Summers. There you go.
That is nice and simple. My name's a pen name, so I chose it because it would be like short and easy when signing books and stuff, and because it's my great grandmother's maiden name. But my actual real name would be common in the book community, like more common than Lyons, which I think I already know like two or three other Lyon authors.
Like Jones or something.
Basically like Jones, not quite that bad, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
But I've run into more people with my actual last name in the book community than with my grandmother's maiden name. So I think I made a good choice though, because like I see, like I was in a live stream with Ryan Cahill recently, or I was watching the live stream, and he was just signing like thousands and thousands of pages, and I was just, that looks horrible. That looks like torture. If I ever have to do that, I've got like what 8 letters or something.
Yeah, I remember watching a documentary a few years ago. It was Neil Gaiman, and it was like a documentary talking about his career, and like there's scenes of him signing stuff, and he would like put his hand in ice water after it was over.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like I get wrist cramps from writing like normally. That's why I don't have like a place where you can buy signed books on my website because I just really don't want to do it. Like every once in a while, I'll send somebody a signed book when they like reach out and ask. So I feel like they must really want it at that point. But I will procrastinate for like 3 months. Like I think I have literally waited. Like I've had the book, I've had the box to send it, and I've waited 3 months just to sign it because I don't want to do it at all. So yeah, my future will not be in book signing.
Yeah, it's it's interesting how that works. Also, I mean, I guess Summers is a pretty I mean, it's not uncommon last name, but
I haven't seen anybody in the book community with it, so I think it's a pretty solid name.
yeah, I have also written something, though like you, it's taken me a long time to edit the damn thing. So I wrote it in 2023, and it's 2025 now. And I'm still in the editing process. I'm like, this freaking sucks. No, it was fun to write the book, but I'll admit that editing process can be very taxing.
It is. It is. I'm usually really excited about it when I first start editing, and I'm just like, nerding out with the grammar and excited to see things like get shaped up really nicely. And then like a year in, I start having like small existential crises where I'm like, I should just publish it now. I should just publish it now. I feel like I've got like a little devil on my shoulder telling me that like it doesn't need to be any better than this. And then like another one saying that like it really does, like you suck. And then that goes on for like a whole another 2 years of editing. And I can never bring myself to publish it before I'm really happy with it. So like I'm ready to publish Ostranger's Wrath whenever the cover is done. But yeah, it took me a while to edit it to the point where it's not perfect by any means, but I'm happy with it. And I feel like, it's a good solid book. So that's pretty much where I want to get them to in editing. And yeah, but it does take forever and it does get really tedious after a long while.
Yeah, that's probably the part that kind of throws me off, the tediousness of it. Though
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine who edited it for me because he does that, and I already knew the guy, so I'm like, "Hey, do you want to edit my book?" And he's like, "Sure, I'll do it."
Yeah.
I'm like
Was he
$400 later, I was good to go.
was he gentle with the manuscript, or did you have to like rewrite the whole thing?
Wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. He only told me like there's probably like two things I should like revise in terms of like rewriting. And then I
Hmm.
kind of rewrote some parts. I'm like, yeah, it sucks. I kind of like the first one better. And I'm like, so I haven't rewritten that part yet.
It can be like hard to make those decisions. I know there was some scenes where I ended up writing them from like five different POVs and just like kind of try to pick which version came out best because I didn't know who was the best person to like write that scene from. And then when you find a problem, you think you can fix it one way, and then you write it, and then you realize that created another problem. That happens to me all the time. So editing is always fun, and I always edit in errors, which ends up causing me to need to read the book like 20 times because I'll edit out like four errors. I'll like reword things to like make it better. And then somehow in the process of doing that, I add in new errors that weren't there before.
I don't know if I've done that because I generally can get pretty anal about grammar and whatnot and spelling. But
Uh,
I've
I do too. I just don't read back over it.
that's
I
fair.
fix it and then I just leave. Assume that I did it right.
That's fair. Yeah, it's just I don't know if I hate editing, but there's parts of it I'm like, God, I just want to get. There's parts of me sometimes I'm like, gosh, just put it out there, but I'm like, I don't think it's good enough yet. So me and my
Yeah.
dad have been looking at it. So
Uh, it's always good to have some family and friends read it too. Like it's good to have objective opinions outside, but it's fun when you got family and friends reading it. My brother finally read my book a little bit after it was published, probably like half a year after it was published, and that was fun. It was cool to give his opinion on it and everything. But my mom still hasn't finished it because of the matricide. She didn't particularly like that part.
she
there,
call you and go
there were
like, oh, honey, are you okay? Is there something you're not telling me?
complaints were lodged, but she's super supportive despite the matricide in the book. She does show the book off to all her friends. So yeah, she's funny.
I am looking at your Twitter at the moment, and I like this one
Oh,
person called Marley Quinn, who I don't who is it a woman? Oh
they
yeah.
didn't read or watch the whole video.
But they're called an ethical smut writer, which like that. There's ethical smut. I didn't know there was a thing as unethical smut.
My followers are all different. They're my mutuals and friends on Twitter are all different genres and types of people. I personally am not a fan of smut. I just have no interest in it. But to each their own. If you're wanting to, I don't even know what ethical smut would be. What variety of smut?
I just thought smut means like sex.
Well, yeah, I know, but what would ethical smut be? I don't.
Um,
That doesn't.
Consensual sex.
Yeah, I guess like not
I thought that was obvious.
non-consensual. But yeah, interesting that you would need to specify that kind of smut. But I guess nowadays, with some of the recent scandals, maybe you do. I don't know. But yeah, just FYI, there's no smut in my books. There's some
Yeah,
scenes
I
that
thought I
are
read in like your what is it? It's like when an author puts out like a It's like their cover, and they put like a couple lines going like with these
Oh yeah, the
little
trope maps.
yeah.
Yeah, all the little arrows
It's
and
and
stuff.
I think I don't know if you did it exactly like that, but you're like no spice.
Yeah, I always have to be sure to include that because it got confused for a romance book for a long time, and it does have a side plot romance. It's not the main plot, but in the beginning, it seems like it might be. And also, there's steamy scenes, so I think people end up thinking that there's going to be spice, and then they're very disappointed that there is not spice. The romance readers are my largest portion of DNFs. Starlight Jewel, they've all been really polite about it, but I think two of them were kind of upset. One of them hate Reddit, but yeah, most people have been really, really cool about realizing that it was not what they thought it was. And some of that was just me not knowing how to market a book in the beginning. So I'm really careful now to say that it is not a full-blown romance or romantasy or whatever it is, and that there is no actual spice. Zero spice, only steam.
But like, what is your definition of steam? Because when I think of like steam, I think of like not like actual sex, but like
Yeah,
lot of touchiness. If you know what I
there's
mean.
a little bit of touchiness, but the door closes before any clothes come off. There's no shenanigans out in the open aside from like kissing and touching. So it's a closed door, fade to black.
Maybe like
before anything happens.
maybe like grab an ass or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that would.
I'm not
I
an
mean,
expert
that's
in.
not actually one of the things that happens, but that level of steaminess. But yeah, and it's kind of a weird romance. It's not a very romantic romance. I think that also is one of the reasons why I have so many romance readers DNF, because it's not really like a love story. Like nobody's saying I love you or touch her and die or things like that. She's a prostitute and she's half tree person, and she's
So
not
that's
very
what the
nice.
tree smut comments were about on.
Oh yeah. After people read the book, they think those jokes are really funny, but I feel like before it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, the main character is a tree person. She's got roots, and she looks very human, until she gets like stabbed or something. Very very tree on the inside. But she's also kind of a prostitute, sort of. I got one review that I thought was so nice because they said that I did the whole escort thing in such a not weird way. And like, yes, thank you. Like, I appreciate that you noticed. Because it was kind of hard to write prostitution as like a very normal, but a normal part of a very civilized seeming society. Like it's like very high class prostitution.
So like courtesan stuff.
Kind of, yeah, but still very criminal leaning. In addition to that, it was complicated.
So
It's complicated to
so
try
are there
to
like
explain.
pimps in this world, or are they just kind of like freelance doing their own thing?
It's more like,
or have you not thought that far about it?
oh no, I've unfortunately thought through the entire structure of the society and the history of how they got there.
I was about to say, you mentioned you like world building, so I'm curious like how far you thought about this.
Yeah, so the basic structure is that so the tree people live underground in the burrow, and there's humans living above in a city, and they have kind of a mutually beneficial relationship with both the humans and the tree people because they're hybrids, they're half and half. And so like the humans and the tree people basically create hybrids for economic purposes because they can't communicate with each other. Like the Spriggans can't speak human languages and the humans can't speak the Spriggan tree language. So they have these hybrids, and a good portion of those hybrids can speak both languages, so they can translate and they can foster the trade of Spriggan weapons, which are infused with Spriggan sap, which enhances the senses. So these weapons are very high quality and wanted by the humans for obvious reasons. So the book does center around a weapons trade and basically economics, but the hybrids cannot make enough money off of this weapons trade. And they're not raised by the humans or the Spriggans. They're raised in their own society underground, away from their parental species. So they need to do other things to basically financially support themselves, because this economic trade is only there to help the humans and the Spriggans. It's not meant to be beneficial really to the hybrids, even though they control it. Um, so that is just kind of like a strange economic wrench that's thrown into the story. And so the other things they do are basically assassination, prostitution, and theft. But they have to do it in such a way that they don't upset the humans. And because the humans are their upstairs neighbors, and they got to survive together, and they've got to continue fostering this trade if they want the humans and Spriggans to continue making hybrids to give them more society. Um, and let them live, because they're only in one city. There's a much lower population of hybrids than humans. Like humans exist all over the world, and there's only hybrids in this one city. So if they wanted, the humans could just kill all the hybrids. So they have good incentives for getting along with the humans. And so the way that they make this prostitution thing work is not through like pimps. It's basically ingrained in these hybrids from a young age that this is like the best thing, the most helpful thing that you can do for your people is to basically become a high class prostitute and seduce and steal from rich foreign men. And so the humans host these like extravagant feasts and balls in this palace, and it's known worldwide that they have these courtesan basically hybrids, and that they have this ability to make you forget them specifically. So that's kind of like the premise of how the main plot of the story ends up starting, is the main character seducing a foreign guy. But they, seduce them, steal from them, and then make them forget. So there's no pimp involved in this, but there is a team. So like the main character has a team of other hybrids who help her with each of these, bigger thefts that happens in the city, if that makes sense. I feel like that was a really long explanation, and I still didn't cover like half of it.
I mean, I have a couple questions. I mean,
Okay,
one,
throw them at me.
how does sex between the tree people and the humans work? Though I guess he said earlier that they look like regular humans, so I guess it works the normal way. I don't know, but
The tree people don't. Only the hybrids, and only some of the hybrids look like regular humans. So that's like kind of what determines whether or not they can become these high class prostitutes, is if they look human enough. So like the current Ostringer, who's like the leader of the hybrids, is Charlie, and he has like one spot of bark skin on the inside of his cheek. So he still like looked human, plenty human enough to become, a high class prostitute when he was like younger, before he became Ostringer. But there are others who have more bark skin and things like that. But yeah, they look like regular tree people, the Spriggans do, but their children get 50-50 genetics. So it's to be determined whether they're internally or externally showing which Spriggan and human traits. If that makes sense. How they procreate, I do get asked that question in my DMs, surprising amount.
but it's like, okay, so tree people and humans, they're you know you
Um,
know how
yeah,
does that work?
I won't give the physical details. Like I feel like use your
Is it just
imagination if you want to, but
is it just
or
like
don't.
normal people do it, or is it like
We're gonna say it's just like normal people do it, unless
okay?
it's So there is like a a weird plot point in the book where male Spriggans are not usually the ones who get together with humans, female humans. It's usually the other way around. But when they do, they don't have control over their like memory wiping ability,
Mm.
because between Spriggans, it's not a memory wiping ability. It's like a memory sharing thing. But since it's two different incompatible species, they just like basically destroy the woman's brain completely. Like just all her memories of herself are gone. So
Oh,
she is barely functional after that. So that's
that's kind of
just
fucked up. Pardon
it's
my
dark
French.
fantasy. It's dark fantasy. It
That's
never
messed
goes
up.
it never goes into too graphic of detail about that actually occurring. I never have procreation scenes of any kind in the book.
Well, yeah, you said
Uh,
you don't do much spice, so I
there's
mean,
no smut, and there's also no like weird smut. Just in case those were two different things in your mind.
sorry,
Um,
erotica readers.
yeah,
Going back to this ethical smut discussion we were having, this weird wraparound. Um,
yeah.
I thought you could just call ethical smut erotica, but I guess not.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're like the only time I really like I don't read smut. It's just not that interesting to me, and I just feel uncomfortable. Like I wouldn't, watch people. So I feel like closing the door is just polite in all instances, including literature. So I'm just not a fan. But whenever I see it around, because I do have tons of friends who are writing it. Um, uh, it's always drama, man. It's always something weird. And the quotes I see from those books, I think there's definitely unethical smut. There's the one Australian author recently, I don't remember her name, but who had like stuff with children in her book, and she got arrested. I mean, I don't usually agree with people getting arrested for books, but I was on board for that one once I like got the context of that situation. So yeah, there's definitely unethical erotica smut writing, but I don't know. It's beyond me. That whole genre is too much for me. I
So,
like fireballs and
so
aliens.
what is the pitch for your series aside from tree people and regular people canoodling, if you will?
Yeah. If you want something that is definitely different, and has a lot of world building. I mean, that's universally in the comments or in the reviews, the world building is what people talk about. And so I think if you really just love world building and in a non exposition way, uh, just kind of thrown at you so that you can pick it up as you go, and you like character development that's a little bit abnormal, then it's the book for you. As far as like trying to summarize the content of it, that's really hard. Uh, but the characters are a little different,
What's the pitch for the story? Is what I like. What's the
uh,
story about?
so there's a woman named Axley, and she is trying to protect her brother.
She's like part tree person.
Yeah,
Is
she's
this right?
half tree person, and she's got a human half brother.
Oh,
So her mother's son from like, yeah, but anyway, a human half brother who's got like some particular abilities that are kind of dangerous and would be super dangerous in Star Wars if he got, in the hands of the wrong person or wrong people. And so she's basically the main plot of the book is her trying to keep him safe. And so she's a bit older than him. Like I think he's 7 at the start of the books, and she's like 19. Um, and so she's just kind of trying to pawn him off on people until she can figure out how to like take care of him, because she's not technically allowed to leave the hybrid company. So the Starlight Company, um, is, the criminal hybrid organization, and it's not like a free pass. So you can't just like retire when you want to.
So
And
it's like
she's got
a predatory organization. Is this?
kind of, it's like unintentionally predatory. It's like they had little choice. So a little bit about the history. The Ashites were the first humans to live in the city of Menelov with the hybrids, and to like make peace with the Spriggans, because there was a Spriggan war before all this. And they kind of
As you
realized they kind of realized that, hey, we can actually be friends. These people can be really useful. And then they realized that some of them were less useful than others. And the Spriggan parents kind of have like a little bit of like self-hatred. They don't like the Spriggan children that look more like them. They have like a natural attraction and appreciation of the human aesthetic, basically. And so they don't even name the children who look like them. They basically are like, I hope you die. And so the
Jesus.
humans are like, okay, well, we don't even need to worry about these other nameless hybrids. But we could experiment on them and find some stuff out. And so
I mean, I
that's how
want to
the
laugh. That's
Ashite,
terrible. Jeez.
I mean, it's not a dark book.
Just the way you're like, oh, they
anything.
experiment on them, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, so
They
you
kind
find
of
out
experiment
the
on them.
history of the Ashites as you're reading Starlight Jewel, even though it's not like a huge plot point, but you find it out through like small offhand comments like, well, this is the dungeon where the Ashites used to experiment on the hybrids. And like, just small passing comments that like, it gets moved on from so fast that like it's not even, if you don't stop to think about it, it's really not that dark. But but the actual history of the Ashites, which you will find out more about in book 2 when I release Ostrander's Wrath, there's a lot of like origin story stuff and that. But they basically bit off more than they could chew with some of these hybrids and watchers. So watchers and waiters, the waiters are basically, how do I explain this? Axley is a waiter and her half brother is a watcher, which is a particular, like, together they have a different set of abilities based on how their abilities work together. Thanks to the Spriggan King, who is Rourke the Auldtree.
That's a good name. I like that name. The Auldtree.
Yeah, the series name is Gifts of the Auldtree, and it is really kind of about Rourke, but from a distance.
Does he have like a big axe, like made out of wood?
He does not. There is actually not an axe in the entire book, except the metaphorical axe of the main character. She named herself Axley because she hated her dad. She's got some daddy issues.
Well, that's nice, I guess.
But yeah, there's no actual.
Isn't
axe.
it
She never
always
uses
in these
knives.
books? There's always some issues with parents.
Oh, yeah, they get along sometimes, but it's kind of hard when your dad's like pretty much a different species than you, and he's king of the Spriggans, and he, is an asshole. I mean,
so like
he kills people, so it's a little bit of a tumultuous relationship. But
so like, is he
okay.
a jerk to her, or is he just kind of like?
No, he's pretty nice to her. But there's reasons that he's nice to her that you'll find out in book 2 that will make you be like, oh, well, that's not as sweet as I thought it was.
So she's like, so is she like a chosen one kind of thing, or is that spoilery?
She was chosen in a way, probably not a positive way that you would want to be chosen. Kind of like how do you choose a cow to eat, like who's up next. So she's not a chosen one in like a destiny fate sort of way, but in a very planned eugenics sort of way, she's chosen. She was created for a purpose, and she's gonna find that out at some point. But yeah, but I like Rourke as a character. I think he is morally the best he can be for a person of his species, and given his incredibly long life. I think he's doing okay. He's not the worst villain.
So, I see. Um. Oh. So it's like. So there's no. Okay. So is her mom human?
Her mom is human. Yes.
Do they get along?
Well, I told you about that kind of weird exception to the rule. Yeah, she's human, but she's no longer like an intact human who has the ability to like be an actual mother.
That's weird.
Yeah. But she's dead before the book starts.
So is she like a vegetable?
I mean, kind of. Basically, she can't remember herself, which means she can't remember her earliest memories of learning how to do things. So she can no longer really do things without assistance while she's for the time period between when that happens and when she dies.
It's kind of weird.
And Axley is the one who kills her.
Like why do they bang each other if they know that? Yeah.
So the way they usually do it doesn't affect the human men at all like it would affect the human women. So there's no collateral damage there. It's just weird, Oh,
okay.
But there was a purpose for, this happening in this instance. It was the planned eugenics thing.
So is there like anti-tree racism or like anti-human racism in this?
I mean, specific to the hybrids, there's lots of internal racism kind of with like the tiers of societies. So there's the high birds, the low birds, and the nameless, depending on how tree-ish you look. But with society outside, they're more like an exotic, interesting, intriguing, entertainment. People come because they're curious and they want to see what these people are. They want to know if they would remember, a person, if it's really true that they can take your memories. So it's more like a fascination within the rest of the world. There's not really racism there. There's some political issues between the Spriggans and humans, because if the humans go into the forest, they get eviscerated and tossed back out.
But the tree people are like, woohoo, yeah.
Forest. No, they don't want humans in the forest, so they're kind of.
Oh, so they're murdering the humans who go into the forest.
Yeah, they're eviscerating and dismembering and giving them. I thought you meant
like there was some magical creature in the woods that's like murdering the humans. I'm like, that's interesting.
They don't want humans in the woods at all. So that they don't like what the humans do in the forest. Compared to other life, it throws off the balance. And so there's a treaty in place that says, okay, we won't go into the forest, and you won't come out of the forest, and then we'll not kill each other anymore. So there's this Spriggan treaty that the Auldtree has with Mieville, basically, but it also applies to the rest of the world. And there are some humans, you can't control all humans. So there are some humans like there's a nomadic group in the north who will go into the woods on occasion, and they get murdered when they do. There's actually a short story, the Yeshin Nomad, that I've got on my Substack about one of the Yeshin Nomads who is planning on going into the forest and ends up running into Axley on the way. So there's like a time skip in the main book, and this is a section from that. But I had fun writing it. It was entertaining to write. Munch, the cannibal.
So they basically agree to stay out of each other's way, unless it comes to like, occasional eugenics banging stuff.
Yes, yeah, and that's only within this one city, kind of at the forest edge. There's like, a designated way to do all of this weapons trade business. And it's all for the weapons trade. So the Spriggans want these jewels that amplify their abilities. And specifically the Auldtree wants them because he wants to be able to have a wider area of control of his people. So he's not just like a king in name, he's a king in like his ability allows him to control his people better. So he wants more of these jewels, and the humans want more weapons. So it's a mutually beneficial weapons trade for them.
That's generally how it works, right? They fight each other, and they're like, you know what? I guess we're gonna have to coexist somehow. So.
Oh well, actually, I never got into the rest of the history. So the Ashites were the first people there, and they got too arrogant and kind of used the hybrids in such a way that they pissed off all the other humans around them.
Oh wow!
And so the Norgans came and killed them because they were wiping memories of Norgan royalty next door, and didn't think that the Norgans were gonna like know who did it. And they were like, I know some spooky crap's going on over there in the Ashite country. So they come to Menelov and they take it over, and
that's so good.
They kill almost all the Ashites, but there's still some Ashites left. So like Axley's mother was like an Ashite, which goes back to the eugenics thing. But yeah, so the new rulers there are the Norgans. And so when the Norgans took power, there was like a little bit of a power struggle because they were just trying to kill the Ashites. They don't really care about the hybrids, but they were like, well, now we have the hybrids, we better use them. We're gonna get all these weapons now, so things are gonna go fabulous for us. And the hybrids were like, I don't really like this arrangement that we've got. And we would like to make some demands and change some things during this different power struggle. And so the Norgans were like, I don't think so. You guys are like trash, and you're not even human.
You're like trash.
So we're gonna.
That's fine.
And I mean, to be fair, they had just been tormented by these hybrids for years. Granted, like kind of at the Ashites insistence, but they'd been tormented for years by like memory loss, magic, spooky crap by these hybrid people. So they were like super happy about this. So they killed one, and she was the last daughter of the Auldtree before the main character. And this was hundreds of years before. So there's a long period in between these two sisters. And so they killed her, and the Auldtree is very unhappy about this development.
Obviously, yes.
Yeah. They made a poor choice, and then they had to sacrifice their daughter. Like the Norgan king had to sacrifice his daughter.
Is that her mom?
No, because this is like 900 years apart. This is a significant historical event that lays the foundations for current society. And so then when they went to set up the current hybrid society after, because the king and his daughter both die in this like weird ordeal after they kill the hybrid Rorik's daughter. So then they're setting things back up, and they have to find a way to get along with each other, which is how they come up with this criminal organization prostitution thing, which doesn't sound like it makes sense. But if you read the book, it'll make more sense. Historically speaking, they're in a position where there's little they can do otherwise. They've basically screwed themselves over. And where they're at now is better and more equal. The underground society is more equal than it was under the Ashites, whereas before they would experiment on the hybrids, like the nameless hybrids. Now in this modern time with the Norgans, they don't experiment on the nameless hybrids anymore. They take care of their own. There's no direct human involvement like there was under the Ashites. And they're just doing their best to basically feed their people. So the prostitution and like assassinations that they do for other countries and stuff isn't like a super morally bad thing. They're not like corrupt. They're not trying to take advantage of their own people. They're actually just desperately trying to keep up with, helping their own people in the only way that they know how to.
I see. That's a lot of information.
Sorry. I love world building. Unfortunately, it's hard to explain anything in like, one or two nice, cute sentences.
There was a lot of fighting, basically, and then there was an agreement, and now there's this weird prostitution assassination thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
is Ashley an assassin as well?
It's Axley, not Ashley.
Damn it! I thought I said Ashley. Sorry,
Uh,
I've been awake for like an
but yeah,
hour.
she is an assassin as well, which is less funny to make jokes about. But she's an assassin and thief as well. Her position is technically called the Starlight Jewel. That's why the book is called the Starlight Jewel, which in retrospect, makes it sound like a romantasy. That's one of the marketing problems I've had. But it's actually just a position in their society. She's like the ideal, woman in their society. She's been
So it's not
elected
like
to
she
be an
falls in love
example
with
to the
like
people.
the I don't know bad boy guy. So sorry.
No, there's no bad boy guy.
I'm so sorry. That was so bad. That was not good.
The side plot romances with the General Arthur
No
Grenville.
bad boyness. That sucks.
I mean, there are some bad boys. There's some bad dudes. They're not the romance though. But Grimm is.
She's not thirsting after some bad boys. Is that?
No,
okay.
No. She has like a brief period where she contemplates an ex, but like, okay, I don't want to give away a spoiler. That would be a big spoiler. I almost just like, but there's a brief point where she thinks about somebody who is morally not great and could be considered a bad boy, but it is so brief and it's not like a serious consideration. It's more of a moral consideration. She faces a like kind of an existential crisis because the side romance dude that she's actually with throughout the series is a human. He's just a regular dude. Like he is exactly what you would think of when you think of a regular dude. He doesn't have baggage. I mean, he has like a tiny bit of baggage, but he doesn't complain about it.
Like he argues with his mom sometimes or something like that.
No, he wouldn't argue with his mom. He loves his mother.
Oh, okay.
But he argues with Axley sometimes.
Was he bullied when he was a kid? Is that?
I mean, no. His main issue is just that like his dad really wanted him to join the army, and he wasn't really feeling it, but kind of like regrets it a little bit. But he's fine with it. He's accepted his lot in life. He's okay with like where he's at. And he still loves his dad. Yeah, he's a very regular dude who doesn't have any communication problems, and he's not dramatic. Which is why I think the romance people aren't really a big fan because he just kind of he's just like, dude, Axley, can you stop doing that? Like, please, you're kind of being crazy right now. And she's like, yeah, I guess you're right. That was probably a bad decision. And then they move on, and then there's like that's the romance.
So this is like a rare, healthy relationship in a fantasy series.
I mean, kind of, yeah. Like their actual relationship, if you take out everything else around it, it's a pretty healthy relationship. I think they've got
her being an assassin, prostitute, thief woman.
Yeah, and they got some problems, but less than you would expect given the line of work and the cultural differences.
So how does he deal with this idea that she's like this badass assassin, prostitute, thief person?
How does he deal with it? Yeah. Like the romance guy?
Yeah.
He's basically just a very go with the flow sort of dude. He's not thrilled about it, and he
doesn't go like, hey,
a judgmental comment every once in a while.
So there's not like any heartfelt conversations like, hey, you ever think about doing something else?
So it's complicated why they wouldn't have that conversation, but
they don't have heart to hearts.
Actually, I mean, they do have heart to hearts, but it's more like, I really wish you would have told me you were going to go on a suicide mission last week. Okay. That would have been cool, dude. Like, and she's like, well, you were just going to get mad about it. And he's like, okay, so I can be mad about it. And that's like their heart to heart sort of conversations. But yeah, he doesn't really give her like lectures on like being a prostitute. He does make some snide comments about it. Like, like you want to go back to your life of being a prostitute, like, and things like that. But it's not like a huge part. Like
there's no like baggage there. That's what you're saying.
No, they're both very okay with like how things have turned out and who the other one is, even if And he's actually like a kind of an upstanding citizen. He's a little bit of a golden retriever type boy. He's very nice, and that does cause a little bit of tension, but not in the ways that are like dramatic. We have a very non-dramatic romance in the book. There's not a lot of there's actually no yelling, and
No yelling.
nobody's mad at each other. Which
Is there any
again
violence?
like between them.
No, I mean in the book
Oh,
in
actually, there
general.
is violence between them. He does slap her once, but
Oh,
there's
but you were a good boy. No.
he is. I won't spoiler why that happens, but there is actually kind of a good reason. And in book 2, there's actually even more. There's a scene that I've been calling the waterboard honeymoon scene. So that's fun. It was really fun for me to write. It's not like spousal abuse or like girlfriend abuse. I assure you, it's. I thought it was fun. But yeah, so there's but violence throughout the rest of the book outside of them. Yes, there is some graphic violence. There's not like gratuitously graphic violence for shock value. Um, there's like one scene that's a little bit gory in book 1, and one scene that's a little bit gory in book 2. Other than that, there's mostly just like regular violence, I guess, like people fighting and killing each other, but not in like extreme detail.
So another thing is, do these tree people have the ability to turn body parts into weapons?
Technically they could. And it has been done, but usually with like a corpse. Usually not with like a living Spriggan. Um, but they do use their roots and their sap when making weapons out of wood. And there's some needles made out of thorns that come off of them, like sewing needles, things like that. But yeah, typically speaking, if a Spriggan dies, they can be made into weapons. Or if you make the weapons out of wood first usually and infuse them with the sap, not just cut off your arm and turn that into a sword.
So they can't go like in the heat of battle they can't like make like a spike out of their hand or something and go like,
Oh, no.
they
So
can't do that.
it's not like high fantasy in that way. There's
Aw.
not really a lot of like quick magic that you can just like make happen. So like the magic in the book is basically just like stuff that animals can do. um like there's like good hearing and good eyesight, like night vision, and like
So
good,
basically, screw everyone else. It's the animals who
know,
have all the magic.
yes, magical animals. But and then there's the memory erasing thing. That's the only thing that's really like
Oh, yeah,
not
that's
the
right.
only.
I keep
There's a
forgetting
couple of them.
about the memory erasure.
Yeah, it makes it really hard not to spoil the book when talking about like anything, because that's like, it's kind of like the fun thing to use for like, the main plot points in the book. And I think I used it in fun different ways because I've read other books that have, memory loss as like a part of them. And it's always kind of interesting to see the different
So
ways
does
that
actually
people
have
do it.
memory loss, or is that spoilery?
I'm not going to spoil anything at all about the memory loss in the book because
Okay.
I feel like it's
I
just
think
more
that
that's
means yes,
just
people.
fun. Yeah.
I think that means
But
yes, audience.
huh?
I
You
think
think
that
that
I'll
means
take that
yes?
as a yes.
You would be shocked at how good I am at not spoiling surprises. There, I don't think anybody gets through the book and thinks I guessed that thing happened. Um, more
I'm being
than
facetious, by the way. I have no
like
idea what's
5
probably going
pages
to
before
happen
it
in this
happened.
book.
And people do get upset around like I think it's chapter 42 is the chapter where people message me and they're unhappy. But yeah, so it's hard to know when you've gone too far, but I know that I didn't because after throwing the book, then they pick it back up and they read it after chapter 42. So And in book 2, I had a similar thing. My boss is one of my beta readers, and I'm a live-in caregiver, so I live with my boss, which is interesting when somebody is beta reading your book. Because as he was beta reading book 2, he got to a certain scene and he complained endlessly for like days and said he was never going to read one of my books again and I needed to change it. And he is very mad, genuinely mad about this one scene in the book. And then after a few days, he picked the book back up and finished it and said he was glad that part was in there. So that was very rewarding. It's just kind of fun as an author to upset the audience just a little bit, but not so much that they want to quit the book entirely for more than a day or 2, 3.
So, as a caretaker, what do you do, if you don't mind my asking that?
I have a patient who's got like a traumatic brain injury.
Oh.
And so for the last like 15 years, I've just been taking care of her and her daily needs. But it's a very nice, fulfilling job, and it gives me time to write when she's asleep. And there's nothing to do, which isn't very often, but it still gives me sometimes when, I'm trying to be quiet at night and she's asleep, so I can write then. But yeah.
So, I tend to ask this, but what are some of your favorite books or whatever pieces of media that you like?
So outside of books, media, I love the Mad Max series. Not enough good things to say about that. Did
you like Furiosa?
I did like Furiosa. I think it was true to the spirit of the old movies, which was a little surprising. I haven't seen the newest one yet. I feel like there's one more that doesn't have Mad Max in it at all. I haven't seen that one yet.
Furiosa?
I thought Furiosa was the one where Mad Max is still in it, but there's Furiosa.
Oh, that's Fury Road. Yeah.
Oh, Fury Road. Okay, never mind. Then I haven't seen Furiosa. I've seen Fury Road. But I do still like Thunderdome the best. I think that's just so much fun. I mean,
that's interesting. Really Most people usually say Fury Road or Road Warrior.
I mean, I love all of them. I think they all have a fantastic vibe. Sandals keep squeaking. And I like that there's not a lot of dialogue. I've always enjoyed books and movies that are a bit quieter, that don't really rely on people talking to each other, which is ironic because there's tons of dialogue in my book. But I've always enjoyed that kind of story that's just a little bit quieter and more subtle, but still, shows kind of like a different side of humanity. And so I really, really feel like that's definitely my favorite series on film by far. As far as books go, I was obviously raised on Lord of the Rings and C.S. Lewis. So I love them. They'll always, kind of have a default top place. But I love Anthony Ryan's writing, his actual writing style. And it's gotten even better as he's, gotten further into his writing career. Anybody who has been following me on Twitter for any length of time knows that I love his writing. Because I use it as an example often when I'm trying to show how to make a sentence sound good versus just be functional. The difference between grammar that's functional and grammar that actually sounds good. He's a great example of that. If you're wanting to improve your prose, fantastic writer to read. And I do like his plots and characters too, like the main character in the Draconis Memoria books. Amazing. I loved her. She was actually a lot like my main character, so that was super fun that he actually had a character like that, Lisanne. And then Nicholas Sansbury Smith. I really love post-apocalyptic books. And so his Helldivers books, which are completely unrelated to all the other Helldivers, I know there's a Helldivers game now, and there's another Helldivers something. Completely unrelated to this. This is post-apocalyptic with the airships, and there's dudes who jump out of the airships into the radioactive Earth to get supplies. And his books are very fun, and it's probably the longest series I've read. I think it's like 10 books now with like a few novellas on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And I really enjoyed that series so much. And I liked the narrator too. I listened to it on audiobook. I read parts of it as well. And he wrote a novella called Rhino with my favorite character. I feel kind of responsible for that because me and the author had a conversation about Rhino, and how he should have his own book. And then lo and behold, a couple years later, he's got his own book. So I was pretty excited to see that because he is a very fun character and kind of fits into that morally gray niche that I like. He's actually a cannibal. so so just a fun character to get his whole backstory and how I guess when I'm looking at books and stuff that I like, what I love to see is how did that person end up like that? That's kind of one of my favorite things is to see how people ended up the way they are. And so those are the two trad pub authors I probably read the most of, but also like Brent Weeks and Peter Brett, Brandon Sanderson, obviously. I love Way of Kings.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be kind of surprised if someone who you say you're really into world building. I'd be kind of surprised if you weren't at least a little interested in Brandon Sando.
Yeah, I mean, Sanderson is amazing. The way that he can just like crack out tons of epic fantasy at the rate that he does, with the consistency of quality that he does, I think it's fantastic. I mean, he's also a great dude. As much as he gives back to indie authors with his lectures, like the fact that you can go online for free and get lessons from the top fantasy writer in the world is amazing. I think it's wonderful that he gives everyone that information and that opportunity. And if you haven't watched those lectures, you should. Every author should. They're fantastic lectures. And I think he came out with a new series this year. He re-recorded it. So that's also cool. But growing up, I liked, Kate Elliott and Mercedes Lackey as well. I went through a huge phase with them.
I know. I've heard of Mercedes Lackey. I think I have some friends who like her.
It's been a while since I've read either of them, but granted, I've been reading pretty much just indie authors for a few years now.
So who are some? I'll ask this: who are some indie authors that you've really liked?
C.B. Lansdale, Far Removed. I loved that so much. It's probably like the closest thing to a comp that my book has, just because it is kind of dark and weird and feminine, and that's kind of rare in epic fantasy. And hers isn't quite as epic. There's no humans in it though, which is super fun. That's also a niche I love. And there's a few indie authors who are doing that, and so I really loved her Far Removed book, and it's interesting. And I love things that are just a little bit different. There's also Stephen William Hanna. He's got 2 series that I like. I don't think the second book in the second series is out yet, the fantasy one, but. Again, post-apocalyptic. I love post-apocalyptic everything. So his Icebreaker series, I think it's called the Interloper trilogy, but the first book is Icebreaker.
Did you read Adrian Gibson's book, Mushroom Blues? Because it has mushroom people.
I have not read it yet. I keep seeing the mushroom people, and I want to. It's on my list of things.
Because you said you like non-humans, so I thought maybe that might pique your interest.
It does. And also I love, plants and things incorporated when you incorporate actual science. And so I have heard that he did like research on fungi before he, created these characters. So that's super fun for me. I am excited to eventually get to his books once I finish my mountainous TBR pile. But I haven't read it yet. But yeah, Stephen William Hanna has the post-apocalyptic, and it's a little bit non-traditional because the main character isn't your stereotypical post-apocalyptic character. He's kind of more of a nerd, but also he develops into like much more than that as the series goes on. And it's also like a frosty post-apocalyptic. So it's not like the desert like Mad Max. It's, snow and stuff.
So it's in like Alaska or something like that?
I think it might actually be in Scotland. I know he's a Scottish dude,
Oh.
Stephen, the author, but I'm not sure if he actually based it in Scotland. You don't really know. I think there are hints in the book, but I wasn't really paying attention to that. I was more excited about like the snow crawler things and the psychedelic monsters. Uh, but yeah, that series is really good, and the fantasy series he wrote is also super fun. The first book I loved, but the second book, which I don't think is out yet, I beta read, and I adored that, the characters, and there's a little bit of like, I guess steampunk clockwork stuff going on in the second book, which wasn't in the first book, which I'm like, that's hit or miss for me, but it was definitely a hit in this book. So I really enjoyed that. And E.C. Greaves, Daughter of the Beast. Again, no
I've
humans.
heard of that name.
Yeah, and he just came out with a new cover for his books. He's also an artist. He does his own covers, and they're awesome.
That might be how I know who that is.
Yeah, but his books, no humans, and there's hyena women. And I love that. They're vicious, and they're raiders, and they kill tons of non-human people.
Black Leopard Red Wolf has hyena people in it. Though there's a pretty graphic sequence with the hyena people, so I don't know if you'll dig that. Because there's a lot of sex in that book.
Yeah, if it's like hyena sex, I'm not sure I'll want to be reading that, but I thought you meant graphic violence at first, and I was like, oh,
there is graphic violence in there too. So.
But yeah, the Daughter of the Beast book is spice free. The main character is actually like a child in the beginning, and that's usually not my jam. I don't like YA type books typically. But it's more like a child in like a Mad Max-like setting and plot. So it doesn't really feel like that. She's basically just thrown to the literal wolves, which is just exciting and fun to read. So I really enjoyed that, despite that she was a child. She didn't have, that sort of. It didn't feel like YA. So not that that's a bad thing. It's just I prefer adult fantasy and sci-fi without spice. So it fit a lot of good niches for me. And Adam Fernandez, that's another indie author I love. So his book is like sci-fi, or his series is sci-fi. The Vermilion Flame or Vermilion Flames, I can never remember if it's plural or singular. It's kind of like Star Wars, but like almost Regency Star Wars. There's like some royalty aspects to it. A few little space opera scenes,
Say
but
no
not
more.
a space opera overall.
Love Star Wars.
It's got fantastic world building for sci-fi. When I'm looking at sci-fi, that's usually what I want out of sci-fi is actual world building and not just spaceships. Or at least something different. What's his name? Dave Dobson. He tends to do something different each sci-fi book he writes. And it's,
so do you play video games at all?
I did before I became an author. I keep
I was about to say, have
myself,
you played like Mass Effect?
Oh yeah, I loved Mass Effect. Garrus Vakarian basically was my longest relationship in real life ever. But
I also love Garrus, so I hear you. I
mean, there's no one who could possibly not like Garrus. So I feel like he's just universally loved. His character was fantastic. He was funny. He was drama free. Who doesn't love Garrus? And half his face is blown off. Everybody likes the guy with scars. So it's nice. But yeah, I did like Mass Effect, and I did feel like that was the only video game that I played, like the RPGs, that had a good romance option for me.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them, they all like Dragon's Age and what are the other ones? All the RPGs that were out during that time period, from like when I was in high school to when I was like 30. They just weren't. They had like daddy issues. Even I think the later Andromeda, or later Mass Effect Andromeda is terrible, and the options were terrible. Not that it's all about the romance, but to me it did matter because it seemed like the guys had tons of awesome options like Morrigan and Liliana, and I don't know who they had in Mass Effect, the blue lady and the lady
Lara.
in the mask. Tali, Lara? Is her name Lara?
That's the blue lady. Or
You
Liara.
sure?
Or Liara. I
Oh,
don't know.
Liara. Yeah. I was thinking Lara doesn't sound, but yeah, Liara sounds a little bit more what I was thinking, and Tali, the girl in the mask all the time.
Oh
But
man,
yeah, guys always give me
I was
great,
really into
cool
Miranda. She was,
options.
you know.
Oh,
Sorry.
but Garrus was the only cool one. All the other guy options they gave us had like serious emotional problems and baggage. And none of them were funny. And then Garrus comes along and rescues all of us from the horror of the options that game developers think that women want. Yeah, and then they ruined it again with Andromeda. So I actually got a
Is he in
Facebook.
Andromeda?
Garrus? I don't think so. No. None of the original characters are in Andromeda, but they give you new romance options as a woman, and they're awful. They're just. I mean, the whole plot was awful, but all the characters were also awful, and the faces were awful. They just recycled the plot from the entire first series and thought that people wouldn't notice. But yeah, I did get a top fan badge on Facebook for harassing the Mass Effect Facebook page so much after Andromeda came back. I just made a point to go on there and complain daily about how bad they failed.
I heard they are making a new game
I have a little
soon.
bit of a troll sometimes. I'm not excited. I'm actually not looking forward to them digging that hole even deeper. The original trilogy was amazing, and they should have left it at that or actually done a good job. I mean, if I hear good things about a new Mass Effect game, I am perfectly willing to like try it out and see if it's good. But given the state of the like games that have been made recently, I don't think. I mean, Baldur's Gate, I think actually was pretty fun. It didn't have good romance options. Like you basically were choosing between like bestiality and a guy with serious emotional problems. And then the daddy issues. Again, always the daddy issues with these dudes.
You
So
just like your emotionally stable romances.
yeah, I just want a normal dude who doesn't have problems, or at least not those kind of problems. And I want somebody who's funny. And why do I like all these talks with these different dudes? Not that I explored every romance option in Baldur's Gate 3, but all the different talks you have with them, they're all just complaining the entire time. You can't base a relationship off some dude complaining about his entire life story. Like having that's too many heartfelt talks, in my opinion. I don't need that much heartfelt baggage. I think they should keep that to themselves. Bottle it in like Garrus Vicarian does. It's fine. Personal
Now
opinion.
I'm the exact opposite. I love baggage.
Yeah. And some people can handle it and some people just can't. I just can't handle that much baggage. It just doesn't seem fun to me. I don't want to fixer-upper in my romance video games. Oh, and I played other games too. Like I like first-person shooters, and I played Elder Scrolls Online for a long time. I think it sucked away like 3 whole years of my life. Just gathering flowers and doing dungeons. But it was fun. It was probably the first time I did any kind of gaming socially. I didn't have like a headset before that. I just kind of played RPGs by myself. And it was definitely enlightening to talk to like a global community or a national. I think it was all English speakers. So I don't think that. I mean, there were some people from the UK, some British people I met, but yeah, just tons and tons of people. I don't travel a lot, if ever. So this is probably the first time I'd met people from like outside Virginia and spent any time with them. And that was like kind of cool, but also just that many people. Like you would go and ask for a tank in the little town square with the like public chat thing, and there would be weird, creepy dudes everywhere. Just being a little bit intrusive. So that was always fun to try and avoid those. But I did eventually like find a little group, so I didn't have to, find tanks every week after that, which was nice. But yeah, I do love gaming. Unfortunately, I don't think that I can like game and write at the same time because I have no self-control with either one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either I'm going to be gaming for like 3 months straight and not writing or editing at all, or I'm going to be writing and editing for 3 years straight and not gaming at all. I was going to reward myself after I finished book 2 by gaming a little bit, but yeah, then we moved and the Xbox is packed. So there's nowhere to put it. Like I could put it out here in the garage if I wanted to play it once a week, but it's not just there's too much else to do. So
I see. Yeah, I didn't play Mass Effect till like COVID because they finally remastered it, and I'm like, ooh, finally I can do this Mass Effect thing and see what all the fuss is about. Because like for years, people are like, yo, Mass Effect.
Mass Effect is amazing. Did you enjoy it?
I did. I really did. I mean, I remember towards the end of the first game, the council were like, oh well, they were doing something, and I had to just pause the game and I just started yelling for like 15 minutes at the game. Like that's never happened before.
Yeah, it is.
Not well, actually that's not true. I have yelled at like multiplayer stuff when like, I get frustrated with that. But I've never like gotten so mad at like a character.
Invested.
Yeah. Where I start yelling for like going on like tirades for a couple minutes.
Did you cry when the guy, I don't want to spoil, everybody's played Mass Effect. You can spoil it now, right? Isn't that the rule? Like it's been out for like 3 years?
I think so.
Did you cry when Warden Solis died?
That was a really sad. That was a really sad death.
I cried.
I've only cried
they did
at
a
Red
really
Dead.
Good job with that.
The only game I've ever cried at is Red Dead Redemption 2.
When did you cry? I guess all I've done in the Red Dead games is like just like beat up people in bars and hunt. I basically used it as like a hunting. Red Dead Redemption is the one with the horses, right?
Yeah.
In the guns. Yeah, I just used it as a hunting simulator, so I don't really know what the plot was. Was the plot good?
Yes, it's very good. Red Dead Redemption 2 is amazing.
I shot a lot of birds.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think I got almost all the animals in the game before I had to stop and go back to writing. Yeah. But I'm sure the plot was wonderful. I was playing with my friends, so it was like they were, doing their own thing in like a tavern, beating people up, and I was hunting. I'm really bad at like multiplayer games with my friends. I get distracted. I can't stay on a mission at all, so I'm like the worst person to take along.
Yeah, I don't play as much multiplayer anymore.
It's hard to schedule things when you're an adult. Like in my 20s, I feel like scheduling was like a little bit easier, like to schedule time with friends. But now it's just like I feel like there's no time ever.
Mm-hmm.
So why didn't you play Mass Effect when it first came out? Are you young?
I'm 24. So
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was maybe like 11 when the third game came out. So I just never got around to it, and then my PS3 just doesn't work anymore, so it's just kind of like, okay, that sucks. And then I'm like, well, Mass Effect is just one of those I haven't played, and then finally they remastered it. I'm like, okay, I gotta play this at some point, because people keep getting after me to play Mass Effect.
Very worth it, though.
It is, especially Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, did you play Andromeda, or did you like take everyone's advice and
I've avoided it because I've heard it's bad, and I don't
keep avoiding it. Don't waste your money. Don't give them anything else.
Also, I saw some of the character animations, and yeah, they were pretty laughable.
Yeah, they just ruined the whole series that last game. I just I don't know. Obviously you're supposed to forgive people, but I have a hard time forgiving the makers of Mass Effect Andromeda. They really fudged that one up. But that's okay. I'm sure there'll be games in the future. It does seem like there's less good games now than when, like, I was in my teens and early 20s, because they had all those RPGs, and then they had some good MMOs that came out. And before that, it was like Fable. I don't know if you've played Fable. I think they did remaster that at some point, and they just remastered like Morrowind. There used to be tons of good games. Now there's just like remasters of good games, and then like new crappy games.
I've played Skyrim. I'm also kind of a world building lore nut, so I mean, the story of Skyrim is not great, but I love exploring the world though.
Yeah,
And just finding all
was
the
really
nooks and
fun.
crannies.
It wasn't my favorite Elder Scrolls. I still really like the world building in Morrowind the best, just because it's kind of more eldritch and creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Skyrim is more kind of like traditionally like medieval dragony,
Mm-hmm.
which is still fun. It was better than Oblivion, which was just kind of depressing. But I think Elder Scrolls Online and Morrowind. Morrowind was my favorite for world building, and Elder Scrolls Online was probably my second favorite. Just a lot of cool dungeons and stuff in the MMO version, but also cool environments. But,
Have you ever played Halo? I know you said you played like shooters.
Halo was one of the first games I ever played. I guess it's the first games I ever played on Xbox. We had one of those machines that you have to like put on top of like books to tilt it sideways and then blow in the cartridge. I can never remember if it's Sega or Nintendo. We had that thing where you have to blow in the cartridge and stick it in. And I did have some. I didn't have any games. My brother had games. He got to pick them all out, so they were all jets. And if you have any recollection of those gaming systems, the games with jets, the jet didn't actually like really move. You're just so dumb. I hated those games. And then I'd go to my friend's house and they'd have like Sonic the Hedgehog and things. I was very jealous. But yeah, Halo was the first Xbox game I played. Very exciting when it first came out. Unfortunately, I was playing it with my brother. He was my only, friend at the house. So he would just snipe me over and over and over and again. And I would just be dead like most of the time. But I still had a ton of fun. And I liked, getting those needler guns and turning people into porcupines that exploded.
My favorite of Halo games is probably Halo Reach.
That's the one with like the little ghosty aliens, right? I think that swarm you.
I was wondering. It's basically the one where the Covenant first attacked. Kind of that. It's telling that. Anyway,
I don't remember the plots of any of them. I remember all the different types of aliens. Like there were like the ghosty aliens, and then there were like all those aliens that didn't speak English, but they made little midget noises.
Mm-hmm. The grunts.
Yeah, there were the grunts, but then there were the smaller ones. They made little angry noises that were like speech, but not really.
If any Halo fans are watching this, you can tell us what it is in the comments.
Oh, Halo fans, yeah. But there were like a different, level of aliens.
I have a friend who really likes the like Halo expanded universe, like the books and whatnot. Because apparently there's like a Halo. There's like Halo books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not attempted those. I only learned about the Star Wars books a few years ago. And I keep meaning to read one. I even checked one out from the library and then ended up not having time to read it. Well, I had to check out and I had to return it.
Oh yeah, would you say you're like into Star Wars?
I liked Star Wars as a kid. Obviously, it's like one of the greatest series ever made. If you're not a Star Wars fan at this point, I feel like there's something wrong. Like I can understand not being a Star Trek fan, even though I'm a Star Trek fan. But not being a Star Wars fan, especially with the older movies. Were you even born when the older movies were out? 24?
No,
Yeah.
I was.
Well, when they first
I was growing
came
up
out,
when the prequels were coming out.
Exciting. Yeah, but you go to McDonald's and you get like a giant Yoda cup. I had like Yoda as the lid.
Oh, I didn't think you were that old. I thought you were in your like 30s, early 30s at least.
Yeah, I'm 34.
Oh,
Star Wars isn't that old. When it first came out, it was, or at least when some of the movies came out. I don't know which ones were the first ones. But I know I went to Disney World once, and they had like a whole Star Wars thing there, which was super exciting. And there were just tons of. When I was growing up, you could get Star Wars anything, is what I mean to say. Like there was always like a promotional thing somewhere, like at restaurants and fast food places, and action figures. I remember when the new movies came out, I got all the like Padme and Anakin action figures, and I was really excited about that. I have no idea what happened to those. Um,
I'm actually about to
yes.
start a Star Wars book soon called Light of the Jedi. I'm hoping to get into that. So it's part of the whole like High Republic thing that Disney started. Hoping it's good. I guess
I
we'll
have no
see.
idea. I don't know what Disney has done with it. I watched like one of the newer Star Wars movies. I think it was like Rogue One. It has Rey in it. And it was okay. I liked it. I don't know if I didn't like it as much just because like I like the old ones because of nostalgia. Or if like it was actually not as good. But it wasn't bad. Like if I wasn't comparing it to the old Star Wars, then it wouldn't even like I would have thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get to that soon because I really love Star Wars a lot. It's one of my it's one of the first
It's
movies I remember watching was A New Hope when I was a kid.
which one is the New Hope?
That's the very first Star Wars movie that came out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Death
I
Star.
just think like the old Star Wars movies, the new Star Wars movies, and then all the new Star Wars movies that are actually new and not new from like when I was 12.
Yeah, the Disney Star Wars.
Yeah, the Disney Star Wars, I guess, would be the new Star Wars, which I keep meaning to like watch some of them, and like people say The Mandalorian is good. I managed to watch like part of a couple of episodes, but I just can't pay attention like I could when I was a kid. So I just end up cleaning the house and not realizing that I'm no longer watching the show. So yeah, eventually I'll get around to it. I'm sure I will get injured at some point because I'm clumsy, and then I'll be laid up in bed, forced not to move, and that'll help me finish some Star Wars movies, or maybe Indiana Jones. So I should watch that too.
I will also note, you mentioned you like non-human creatures, like non-human people. Have you ever
Mm-hmm.
read the Bas-Lag books by China Mieville?
Nope.
Oh, I was about to say you might enjoy those. The first book is about a guy who dates a bug woman, and it takes place in a city where there's bird people and cactus people and bug
Weird.
people. And then the second book takes place on like a ship like society, which also has like, and there's also people who get like, as punishment, they get like body deformities. It's pretty dope.
Oh, that's kind of like what happens in Far Removed is body deformity punishments, which was like a really she addressed that aspect of the book really well. Like it
Third
was
one I didn't
different.
really like as much, but those first two books are really good.
um, but there's
A lot of
tons of movies.
non-human people in that. There's even a little like glass dome, and it's like really hot, and that's where the cactus people live.
Oh, that makes sense. They got their own little greenhouse.
It's like, and there's also like frog people. It's really cool. I think it's neat.
Yeah. I do like it when the non-human people aren't just treated like people. That's like one of my biggest complaints about books with elves is that the elves are and fairies now. Like I know that's become really popular in certain subgenres, but they're just like humans, and then they just say they have pointy ears and wings, and like there's literally nothing else different. Their society is very human. Their culture is very human. Their emotions are very human. Everything like I just find that like kind of boring. I really appreciate when an author does a lot to make the non-human people actually seem kind of non-human. And
Oh, I think you'll like Bas-Lag then, because there's parts of that book where it kind of talks about the just cultural, like the hook of the first book, just Perdido Street Station, is this bird person called Yagarick has come to ask for the help from a guy called Isaac, who's basically like this scientist. And he's like, and he's good at a bunch of things basically, and he wants him to give him new wings because his old wings got removed as a punishment for something he did. That's not. I won't spoil what it is, but that's kind of what kicks the plot off in that book, is him trying to figure out how to get him to fly again. And they also, and you end up learning like the bird people have like their own rules and codes that like don't really make sense to people.
Yeah, it's kind of world building a lot. Different morals.
Oh
different
man, the world building in like
societies.
Perdido Street Station and the Scar is just outstanding. I have to say.
Yeah.
I think you would dig it, is what I'm saying.
I will add it to the endless TBR.
Because
it'll be a while.
Like it's very macabre. It's very strange. I mean,
I do like strange TV.
There's a couple sex scenes, but like they're not long. So
I can always skip them. Like I prefer them not to be there because sometimes they do like shock me at first. Like if I'm reading and I'm expecting it to end and it doesn't. But generally speaking,
well, I mean, it's not like erotica where it's like he does the he's not like describing. Well, anyway.
I just skip them regardless.
Okay,
how
fine.
Detailed,
but
I don't want to find out how detailed they are.
Like, it's not like going into like the details. But anyway, I mean, if you don't want to read them, you don't want to read them. But great books though. Aside from that, great book. I mean, I think the sex is actually really well done in those books. But anyway, aside from that, I think you would enjoy it based on what you've been telling me.
I have never missed anything that I feel is essential by skipping over those types of scenes. So I don't really mind skipping over the scenes as long as it's not like there's so many of them that I'm skipping half the book.
Another one of the main characters in Perdido Street Station who kind of becomes the bad guy. He's basically they call this body modification punishment. They call it remade. The guy's basically been like remade so many times, like he's just kind of like this blob.
Yeah, that's neat as far as like plot points go.
And then like in the Scar, there's like mosquito people. It's really one of the strangest things I've ever read.
Death to them. I hope they all die. I've got like 10 mosquito bites on my legs right now.
You know what? I won't say too much more. But I mean, if that at least entices you, then go nuts.
It does. It definitely entices me. I wish I was more lenient with myself as far as like my TBR goes, but if I move things around too much and
but like those first two books are brilliant. I love them both. They're really good.
If it's on audiobook, I can definitely.
They are on audio. I've not listened to them because I'm terrible at doing audiobooks, but
I love audiobooks because you can do like 10 things.
I get distracted. You're talking about you get distracted easily. I get distracted easily too. So like, I'll be like listening to something. I'll be like, "Ooh, what's that over there? There's a dog."
Well, I always do it while I'm doing things that require zero mental thought, like dishes and laundry, which I have an infinite supply of. Like I could do laundry all day today and still not be done by the end.
Man, now I'm excited. I would really love to see your thoughts on Bas-Lag whenever you get around to it,
But I think I got like 3 audiobooks in line right now, so it shouldn't take me too incredibly long to get through them. I just got Fall of Sylvandria, Tim McKay's book. He just
oh yeah, I've been wanting to read that. Me and Tim are friends. He's a good dude. I actually had him on again not too long ago.
Yeah, Tim is super cool. He is an awesome dude, and he's a great editor.
Yeah, I've heard he's been doing some editing work.
Yeah, if anyone wants a recommendation for an editor who actually like knows what they're doing, Tim Tim's your guy. He's very good. So my endorsement always goes to him, and then for like proofreading, Dominic Henkel. I think he's also really knowledgeable and good. And Sarah Chorn, obviously too. I don't actually know her, but I've read enough books by her to know that she's a fantastic editor. So
Also,
yeah.
I don't really read a lot of like super long series. I tend to be real selective. Like that's why I was hesitant to read Malazan for so long, because they're 10 really big books.
Yeah.
Like, they're big boys.
It's
like,
a commitment, man. That's like a year of your life.
I think like this is, I call this the airport copy because it's really small. But
Oh yeah.
this is like 600 something pages, and like I think this is the shortest one out of all of them. So, I mean, I could do 600 something pages. Like, that's fine. I can do that, but or it just gets longer from there. I'm just like, this is wonderful.
Yeah, it's definitely a big commitment to take on a big series. I think I've talked about my big series in the future, like every interview, the last 3 interviews, but Bill Adams' book is on my TBR because I read the first chapter and liked it. And it is such a chunky book. It's like chunkier than like, I think 3 of my books combined.
So you would say it's a big boy?
It's a big boy, and like I'm excited about it content wise. Oh no, it wasn't because I read the first chapter. We actually made a bet. It's the only book that's on my TBR because of a bet. And so that's I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it, but also I know it's going to be like 4 months that I can't read any other books. That I have to focus on one, and yeah, so it's hard to make a commitment to a big book. And before I published, I remember looking up.
I have to really chalk up some time to put a chunky boy on.
Yeah, I really love novellas. Novellas are great because they give me that nice sense of completion really quickly, and then I can like read another author and give another author a chance. But before I was publishing, I had looked up like, do people like long books? Because I was writing a long book. My book is like 490 pages. I think it's I forget how many words that is now. But it's 490 pages at 6x9, so it's pretty chunky. And I was looking up, like, do people even like chunky books? Is this a good idea or a bad idea? And everybody was talking about how much of a great idea, and everybody loves chunky books. Like, Sanderson writes chunky books, and, there's all these popular chunky books. And yes, in the most successful fantasy authors out there, of course, they write chunky books and people read them. If you're an indie author, I don't recommend it for like 500 reasons. One of them is you have to get
Luckily,
people to commit time.
Luckily, my book that I wrote isn't very long, because I remember when I wrote it, I wanted to kind of buck as many, not like subvert expectations, because that's kind of lame nowadays, but I did want to avert many things that I've noticed, and like, I didn't want it to be very long. I wanted to be approachable. I wanted people to, like, you could read it and have a good time. I don't want to, like, I'm also a world building nut, but I had to hold myself back from the world building stuff. So it was hard.
Yeah, you do have to pick and choose what you can fit in there.
It's really hard.
Like, my notes for Starlight Jewel are a little bit out of hand, and when I had to make some sacrifices in the book on what was actually going to go in there and what was just going to be hinted at, and what actually needed to be explained, because like some things do need to be explained, so it is always hard to make those cuts and sacrifices to all that world building that you did, and then you can make it extra content later. Like, I was not able to put any of the genetic information on how I did the world building into my series, because it's medieval alternate world, and you can't really talk about genetics in it. So I made a little genetics quiz, that has all the concepts I used and how I came up with.
Genetics wasn't really a thing in medieval times. They didn't know what that was.
Yeah, like they were aware of basically like selective breeding.
I'm real excited for whenever you get to Bas-Lag, because I think you would really appreciate it, because it takes place, the first book anyway takes place in a city. and it's just
lots of different species with lots of different aspects to them and environments. Yeah, I love it when it all works
I think
together like
in
that
Perdido
too.
Street Station especially, I think you would like the bug people culture because it's like really gone into in that book. It's really like he goes into culture quite a bit in that book.
I do know that what's his name, Michael Fletcher, has bug people in his book. I read the first chapter of one that's on the TBR. Pretty excited about that one too.
Yeah, I read his book
anytime
Beyond.
I get to a book that has no humans, excited.
Yeah, I read his Beyond Redemption book a few years ago, and it was probably one of the most visceral fantasy books I've ever read. I was like, God damn, dude.
I have heard that he's got some graphic violence in there, and I
There's
am not.
there's a full on orgy that I had to.
No.
And it gets real.
Hopefully.
It gets very depraved. I'm just like, oh my god. And I'm not
Yeah.
squeamish, mind you. I am very, very much not squeamish, but oh my god.
I'm not squeamish, but I am a prude, and I can read some gory stuff and not be too incredibly bothered. But anything open doors, it's not for not for me.
I mean, I wouldn't call myself a prude, but like just the it's the details he puts in there, and it's like, ugh, ugh. It's nasty. It's nasty. Yeah. I would like to read some more of his books, though.
I don't think I feel like somebody would have mentioned that his book was spicy to me by now.
Like it's
if the one that I picked out, it's the one with the bug on the cover.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
I think he actually changed the cover. It's got a new cover now. But I don't remember what it's called.
My cat is demanding me. I'll have to let her in.
Oh.
Get on in here, cat. I thought I saw on your Twitter you also have a cat.
I have 4 cats.
Oh.
They're in the house. I'm in the garage right now.
So are you like the cat lady, that like chills out? I see.
So like I said, I live at work, and I'm a living caregiver. When I first got here, they had one cat named Clover, and she was the fluffiest, most adorable cat in the world. And we assumed after a couple of years of me working here that she must be lonely. She's an only cat. And, who wants to be an only cat? She seemed like she was slowing down. So we got her another cat. We went and looked through a bunch of ads for this cat shelter. You know how they do? They put ads up. And we found one. And it was like he's got one eye and he walks like a drunken sailor. He got hit by a car. He's a little funky, but he's a good cat. And so we're like, yep, that's the one for us. He sounds great. And they said something about his purrs sounding like a diesel engine, and they do. When he got hit by the car, his nose got a little smushed. So he's got a good purr now. And he snores a little bit. But so then we got Jake, and Clover sniffed him and vomited, and that was about the extent of her feelings about Mr. Jake. She did not like him. She apparently was not lonely, but the spite did fuel her and gave her more energy, so it was positive in a way. And then I was working a second job while still working this job as a therapist at a youth shelter, and I was driving in between the jobs one day, and I saw a kitten on the sidewalk, and I pulled over, obviously. And then I could see 3 kittens, and it was like they were living out of a storm drain. Anyway, long story short, I asked my boss if I could bring these kittens home. I caught one, and it bit me, and I had to let it go, and then I caught a different one. And he said no, obviously. He did not want me to bring cats to work. And so I brought it anyway. And then I went back and brought the other 2. I got a cat cage and caught the other 2, which I scared the crap out of a grown man. I don't think I've ever scared. I'm a small person. I'm 100 pounds. I can't scare hardly anybody. Anybody who's scared of me is got problems. But I did scare a grown man catching those cats, because there's like these really tall weeds, and it was like down a hill, and like so there's a fence, the storm drain, tall weeds, And so I was in the weeds with the cat cage in my pajamas at like 4 a.m. And when I emerged, the road crew was out, getting the weeds with their machinery and whatnot. And I did not know I was coming out of the fence and weeds right beside this man at like, it's like 5 a.m. The sun's barely up, and a woman just emerges from the weeds out of like this median swamp.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so if he was wearing, he had the loud thing, so he couldn't hear me coming. I just came out, and we both scared the crap out of each other. So that was fun. And I brought home 3 cats. So now Clover did pass away last year. She was like 19.
Long lived.
She was long lived. She lived a very fun life. She was always super excited about things and hated all the other cats. She was a princess. She refused to eat beside the other cats. We set up, their bowls, and then her bowl had to be over here because she didn't want to smell them while she was eating.
Those damn cats, they're so high maintenance.
Yeah, she's our princess, but now we just have 4 cats. We have the kittens who are like 10 years old. I think they might be 8 or 9. That I brought home. And then, I finally got my boss to agree to foster them after he said that I couldn't bring them back. And then we got an offer for somebody to take one, and he said like we couldn't separate them, obviously, because they loved each other so much. And so obviously we kept them. They've been fostered for like almost a decade now. But yeah, so I'm a great employee. I've also brought a possum back to the house in my backpack. But we didn't keep that one.
You're bringing all sorts of wildlife back to the house, is what you're saying.
Yeah, anybody who has ever had to reside in the same house as me knows that I'm the problem. I had a pet possum for a while as a kid because it was sick, and I picked it up and just kept it. But
your parents just go like, what the hell is that?
They didn't really know what to do with me. I think they were just happy that I wasn't like doing drugs. They just let me be a feral forest child. We lived in the middle of nowhere, so
it's like, yeah, thank God she's not doing drugs. She's just bringing wild animals in the house.
Yeah, I mean, I think they always just thought it could be worse. There could be weirder things happening. So we're just gonna accept this how it is and hope it doesn't get worse.
Just reading books and bringing wild animals in the vicinity.
Yeah. Pretty much, and we weren't really allowed to stay in the house. Like I know, and nowadays children are allowed to be in their homes in the evenings, but this was just the time period where it was normal to keep your children out of the house until it was time to eat. And then they had this big bell, it's like this big with like one of those things. So they would ring the dinner bell, and I would, emerge from the forest at night to eat, sleep.
You just this wild munchkin showing up. It's like, I need food. You're like, okay.
Yeah, and we would have
God, you can't do that now. That's weird.
Yeah, you can't just let your children be feral outside. It's very bizarre. Like I saw a mother got like arrested for letting her child walk to the gas station down the street.
Really?
Like, man, the world has changed. And this is like in a small town too. Like you can't just turn your kids loose. And I remember like there's an author in the community that I went to high school with, and she lived about 1.5 miles, 2 miles away from me. Power was out one day. I just walked to her house, and that was fine. I didn't tell anybody where I was going. Like you could just do that then, and nobody cared. Like we were out of school because power was out, and there was
at
just
the school or at your house?
Everywhere.
Oh wow.
The power was like out for like 2 weeks in the whole area.
Oh, that must have sucked.
It was one of our biggest storms back then. But you could just walk places and go places. I mean, the last time I remember, like, when you were really little, you couldn't because me and my brother and cousin did try to go save the president from wolf trap. Reading out of context when you're like 5, wolf trap sounds, like president goes to wolf trap sounds like an actual. It doesn't sound like the opera. Uh, so we saw that in the newspaper, and we decided to go try to save the president, which we did get in some trouble for. I think we made it at least a mile. We were like 5 and 6. But yeah, you could get in trouble when you were that young for walking, down the road away from your home. But if you were like 7 or 8, 9, you're definitely not getting in trouble for like being turned loose in society. But yeah, now you can't do that. I have friends with kids, and they're with their children like all the time. If their kids aren't in school, they always have their child beside them. It's bizarre because like none of us were raised like that. We all we were just.
Well, yeah, it's different now. I mean, you don't know who's out there. Your kid might get like snatched.
Yeah. And there was, still kidnappers when we were growing up, but we only had local news, so we didn't really know about most of them.
I was about to say, yeah, the internet probably wasn't a thing till you were, I don't know.
I didn't have, we had internet at the school at some point. I think in middle school there was definitely, no, not in middle school. It was high school. In high school, I had an email address that I didn't really know how to use. We had some dial-up internet around, but it was at the school. It wasn't at my house. And my dad did get a computer that was mostly functional, and my grandparents got a computer towards the end of high school. But they were like those big things, and I didn't know what to do with the computers. Like, when when there's a new technology, like I was just like, what would I even do with that thing? So when my grandparents and dad did get them, and I wasn't really allowed to be on them because they were using them for important stuff like taxes.
Well, now you're talking to me on.
Yeah, I got a laptop when I left for college, and I still didn't really do as much with it as I think other people do, but I wrote on it, which is awesome. And now I do social media and stuff. I didn't do that until I published, so I lived under a rock. But it is very cool. I meet so many people from so many places. You're in Oklahoma, which I actually don't know where that is.
That's in like the middle of the country.
Is it near Kansas?
Yes.
So it's also flat.
Yes.
It's horrible. I've not
been to Kansas, but I've heard it's very. I have friends who live out there, and they say it's very flat.
It is,
and it is flat out here too. So yeah,
it's horrible. It was like a nightmare. I never.
Well, when you get out to the rural areas, we do have cities. We don't live in teepees.
So. Kansas is flat everywhere, and the city wasn't really like a city. Like I came in from the airport, so into like a sort of city. I think it's Wichita, and I will never go back. It was so flat. I felt seasick the entire time. It was like the world was never ending. It was horrible, just looking out on that flat, fieldy expanse. And then when you're flying over it, it's weird too. It's just fields after fields after fields. The whole state of Kansas is just fields. I like mountains. I like a little bit of like texture to the geography, the topographical.
Yeah, well, Texas has like 3 states in one,
Oh, Texas? I've never been to Texas.
Oh.
Do they have
I was going to say, we're right above Texas, so. Did you ask, does Texas have cell phones?
No, does Texas have mountains?
Oh.
I don't.
Well, if they do, I'm sure they do, but I've not seen them. I've only been to like Dallas and like some of the like desert areas.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't survive in the desert. I need like some green stuff and like a lot of it. I really like Virginia. The reason I don't travel a lot is because I just really like it here. I know a lot of people don't like the humidity and the intense amount of mosquitoes and the copperheads and the black widows. And now we've got those venomous ants that just like invaded. And there's a lot of things not to like, I think, but if you grew up around it, then you're used to it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm the same way about Oklahoma. I like it out here. Though it is a bit flat, so I mean, I don't go to the rural areas very much.
It's is it better in the city, I guess, because you can't see how flat it is?
I'd say so.
There's just buildings blocking your views.
We have good food.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of any food from Oklahoma. Wow. What kind of food do you have?
Well, we have a steakhouse out in Oklahoma City called Cattleman's. It's really good.
No, that sounds not very special. There's steakhouses everywhere.
That's true.
Do you have any Oklahoman foods?
I don't know if there's like specific Oklahoma food. I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
I feel like the Midwest just generally is not known for food. I mean, growing food, yes. You guys grow like all our food. But I don't know about your fine dining. Maybe you need to invent Oklahoman food. But Virginia doesn't have fantastic, food. But we do have some very good fried catfish. And, there's a solid mix of like seafood and weird fruit from the mountains like pawpaws. I like it here. So I'm not super tempted to travel. Definitely not to the Midwest again. I went to Oregon once, and that was probably my best travel experience because it was at least I got to go out into the wilderness, and it's pretty beautiful there. New York was horrible. Like New York City. It's the smelliest place on the earth. Like, I cannot imagine a worse smell than New York City. I don't know how people breathe there. Like, it's just awful. But supposedly it's culturally amazing.
I've never been to New York City myself, so I can't comment on it. I've been to Washington, D.C., though.
Washington, D.C. I've been to a lot because it is really close to Virginia. But just not a fan of that, but it's not as bad as New York City.
It's really hot out there, though. I went during the summer. It's... I don't miss the heat.
Yeah, it's Virginia right now, especially because of the heat wave. Looking up how hot it is. But it does get a little bit hot here. And it feels hotter usually, like it's 92 degrees is like the actual temperature right now. I don't know what the heat index is. But yeah, it's humid, it's hot. And I love that. But it has been even a little bit much for me this year.
Yeah. I mean, I've always wanted to go to like the East Coast because like Boston or something like that. Because
Boston? Why Boston?
Well, it's where our nation started, and there's some
history stuff.
Some good scenery. That's why I went to Washington D.C. because of like history.
Oh yeah.
I would love to go back there at some point because there's a store called Politics and Prose that I'd love to stop at some point. Maybe someday I'll go back. I like Florida as well.
Yeah, I think isn't the Hemingway House in Florida?
Yeah, it's Key West.
Yeah,
my parents have been there. I've never been there.
That's how I know my parents went there too. Yeah, but they saw the Hemingway cats and sent me pictures of them. But yeah, I'm not a huge history buff as far as like visiting historical sites, but that is possibly because that's the only kind of field trips we got as a kid since we are on the East Coast. And in Virginia, which is like the first place that people landed, there's historical stuff everywhere. Like literally, if you go outside, you're on a battlefield. Like in the backyard here, we found a livery button from like a military uniform, just like gardening. You can't, like, I had a friend's house who had been like a Civil War hospital growing up, and everywhere you went, there was just battlefields. The whole
Oh,
state
I'd
is
probably love it out there then.
battlefields.
I probably wouldn't
Yeah.
like the heat, but I probably would like everything else.
And you go to Jamestown, like you go to the
I've
coast, and
been
there's
there. Yeah,
Jamestown and
I've been to
Williamsburg,
Jamestown.
and it's cool. They've got little touristy things, and sometimes they bring those boats. They bring the replica boats out. But yeah, if you're going for the history stuff, Virginia is a great place to see all the history stuff. You've got statues everywhere. You can learn a ton. If you're going for like a good beach, I would not come to Virginia Beach.
I enjoyed it when I went there, but then again,
not,
I'm not a big
not
beach
pretty.
aficionado, so I can't really.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of far away from the beach if you're near Kansas. If Oklahoma's Midwest, you're kind of far away. But yeah, I've been to
We have
pretty much all the
lakes.
beaches in the.
That's about it.
Then Myrtle Beach is really pretty. If you want to go to an actual beach that looks nice, unlike ours, Myrtle Beach is really nice. Pretty much anywhere in South Carolina, for whatever reason, they have nicer looking water that isn't as filled with jellyfish.
Oh yeah, I remember when I went to Florida, I was just kind of screwing around, punching through the waves, and I got stung by a little jellyfish, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not fun.
Yeah, Florida will kill you too. There's like stuff in the water there.
Yeah.
There's stuff on the land. There's stuff in the water. Yeah, like Florida in theory.
They got some good food over there though, in Florida.
Oh yeah, they do have really good food, and they've got fantastic taxes that are getting even better. But yeah, as far as swimming in any body of water in Florida, it's pretty much a no from me, just because I don't want to be eaten by anything. It's like mini Australia down there. But South Carolina has very safe waters comparatively, I believe.
From my very limited experience with science, usually don't get attacked by like sharks or anything, unless they think you're food, which
Yeah.
Sharks are kind of dumb though, so you don't know when that ever's gonna, you don't know when that's gonna.
Yeah, I just don't want to risk it. I like pools because they don't move.
I mean, it's not like Jaws where the shark just randomly attacks people for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, there's no sharks with like vendettas out there
Yeah.
against like humans, like hunting humans down. But like, maybe my legs do look kind of tasty some days if I'm just flipping them in the water there.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming the sharks or saying it's their fault, but
I've always wanted to go to Australia. I've always wanted to see the outback.
I have no desire to go to Australia.
But I've had friends who live in New Zealand. He's like, you should come to New Zealand instead. We got Hobbiton. I was like, you know what? That's tempting as well.
I hear that they don't have like any dangerous animals in New Zealand. They don't have any poisonous snakes or like bugs, like spiders, like poisonous spiders. Like they're all their animals are safe. They don't even have like bears. Like you can't even get eaten by a bear there. You're basically just like there's no human predators.
You know what has bears? Oregon. I think Oregon has bears.
Everywhere in America has bears. There's no bear-free zone. I saw like one of the dumbest comments ever.
Do we have bears in Oklahoma? I don't think we have bears in Oklahoma.
I'm pretty sure you have bears in Oklahoma. Hold on, I gotta look it up.
I mean, they probably exist.
I mean, it might just be like little black bears, but are there bears in Oklahoma? Yes, there are bears in Oklahoma.
Well, okay. Yeah, I stand corrected.
Black bears.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, you don't really have to worry about black bears. They're scaredy cats, usually, like unless...
I mean, I'm not afraid of bears, but I'm not, like, gonna try and hug one anytime soon.
I'm afraid of a grizzly bear. Like, you can yell at a black bear, and they're generally, as long as it's not a mom black bear, like a black bear will just leave. They'll like respect like you telling them to go. They don't really want to eat you, but a grizzly bear wants to eat you. I'm not. I'm afraid of a grizzly bear. if I see a grizzly bear, there is no distance at which I feel safe. I will get in my car and leave. I'm not down to be anywhere near a grizzly bear or polar bear. I don't want to be eaten by a bear. Black bears, I think, are generally okay.
Anyway, well, I we've been going on for a little while, and I mean, I don't want to like take up too much of your time, but thank you for coming on my channel and hanging out with me today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It was fun, and I hope one day we'll talk again sometime.
Indeed, as I like to do for the end of these things, if you have any social media, you can feel free and share.
Yeah, I'm mostly on Twitter. Lyons pen with one of those little underscore things in between the lines and the pen. And I also have an Instagram that I'm bad at keeping up with, and a Threads that I'm also bad at keeping up with, and a Blue Sky that I'm also, but I'm good at keeping up with the Twitter. So if you want to find me, that's where I'm at.
And that's where I follow. That's where I first met. That's where I first met you.
I post about rocks and grammar and trees.
Fair enough. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun talking about world building and animal people and ethical smut. Ethical smut is the most important, of course. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and until next time. Bye.